Manhattan, a winter night in 2025. Neon lights blazed across the bustling streets. Emma Hayes, 24, pedaled through traffic, her thin jacket soaked by the drizzle. She worked as a delivery girl, surviving on orders from upscale restaurants in New York. Raised in an orphanage, Emma never knew her parents. The only thing her mother left behind was a silver necklace engraved with a star, shimmering like a reminder of the American dream. One day she would escape this life and achieve something great. Emma stopped in front of a restaurant near Times Square, the glow of the signboard casting light on her tired but determined face. Last delivery, she whispered to herself, hoping to head back to her tiny apartment in Brooklyn for some rest. She checked the delivery bag, making sure the sushi box was still warm. Just get through tonight, she murmured, her breath forming a white mist in the cold air. Rain began to fall harder, fogging her protective goggles, but Emma kept pedaling, her legs exhausted but unwilling to stop. At a crowded intersection, Emma didn't notice the sleek black Bentley that had pulled up nearby. In her rush, she brushed against the car, spilling the coffee she was holding onto the door. A woman stepped out dressed in an expensive business suit, blonde hair tied high, eyes sharp as ice. Claire Dawson, 30, the assistant to a powerful figure, snapped. "Do you know how much this car costs? With your delivery wages, you couldn't pay for a scratch in a lifetime." Emma trembled, her voice soft. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll pay for it, but I need time." She had only a few coins in her pocket, not nearly enough to cover the damage. A crowd began to gather, curious eyes adding to her embarrassment. She reached for her necklace, feeling the engraved star beneath her fingertips, seeking comfort from her only keepsake. A hazy memory flickered, a lullaby, a warm hand, but it vanished as quickly as it came. The days in the orphanage came rushing back, children taunting her as the girl with no parents. Emma clutched the necklace tightly, holding back tears. Suddenly, a deep voice rang out. "Claire, that's enough." James Carter, 32, CEO of Carter Enterprises, stepped out of the restaurant. Dressed in a black suit, tall and cold as ice, his gaze froze when he saw the necklace around Emma's neck. A flicker of emotion passed through his eyes. "Give me the check," he told Claire, his tone leaving no room for argument. Claire, surprised, pulled out a checkbook. James signed quickly and handed it to her. "Consider this compensation. Let's not make a scene." Claire glared at Emma before walking away, her heels clacking against the wet pavement. James turned to Emma, his gaze piercing. "What's your name?" "Emma Hayes," she replied, heart pounding, unsure why this man was helping her. "Come to Carter Enterprises tomorrow at 9 a.m. I have a job for you," James said, handing her a business card with a gold embossed logo. He didn't wait for a response, turning away and disappearing into the neon-lit night. Emma stood in the rain, holding the card filled with doubt. Carter Enterprises, a multi-billion-dollar real estate empire, a name she only knew from the news. Why would a billionaire care about her? Emma returned to her tiny Brooklyn apartment, a cramped room with a single bed, an old wooden desk, and a few worn books. She sat by the window, gazing at the distant city lights, turning the necklace in her hand. "Mom, who am I?" she whispered. Memories of the orphanage resurfaced, being teased, clinging to the necklace at night, dreaming of a family. She opened the business card. The bold print read, "James Carter, CEO," sending a chill through her. Tomorrow everything might change, she told herself, though her heart was uneasy. Meanwhile, in a luxurious office atop Carter Enterprises, James sat alone, Manhattan's light streaming through the glass. On his desk lay an old photo of a little girl wearing a necklace identical to Emma's. "Lily," he whispered, his voice choked. His sister had gone missing 15 years ago after a family tragedy he never recovered from. The star necklace was a unique design, custom-made by their mother. Could it really be you? He wondered, eyes filled with sorrow and a glimmer of hope. He picked up the phone and called his lawyer. "Find everything you can about Emma Hayes. I need to know who she is." The next morning, Emma stood in front of the dazzling glass tower of Carter Enterprises, right in the heart of Manhattan. The towering building reflected the sunlight, a symbol of power and ambition. Dressed in an old shirt and jeans, Emma felt out of place among the employees in expensive suits holding Starbucks cups. She took a deep breath, clenched James's business card, and stepped inside. The luxurious reception area, with its gleaming marble floors, only added to Emma's insecurity. She handed the business card to the receptionist, a young woman who eyed her critically. "Do you have an appointment with Mr. Carter?" the woman asked, her tone doubtful. Emma nodded, trying to remain calm. After a few minutes, she was directed to the 50th floor, where James's office was located. The transparent glass elevator offered a full view of Manhattan, from the towering skyscrapers to the bustling crowds below. Emma gripped her necklace silently, telling herself, "I can do this." Claire Dawson was waiting on the 50th floor, seated behind a large desk, her gaze icy. "You're Emma Hayes," Claire asked, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "I don't know why James called you here, but if you think you belong in this place, you're mistaken." Emma didn't reply, just held her necklace tightly, trying to stay composed. Claire led her to a small office and assigned her an internship in the marketing department. "Don't embarrass the company," Claire said, her eyes sharp as blades, before walking off. Emma sat at the desk, looking around the room with its new computer and a window overlooking Manhattan. She felt both thrilled and terrified. This was an opportunity she had never dreamed of, but it was also a foreign, competitive world. She turned on the computer and began entering data, trying to get familiar with the company's software. The numbers and charts made her dizzy, but she reminded herself, "I survived the orphanage. I can survive this." Emma met Lucas Reed, a 26-year-old colleague with messy hair and a friendly smile. "Hi, I'm Lucas," he said with a wink. "Don't mind Claire. She thinks she's the queen around here." Lucas told her about Carter Enterprises, a real estate empire, but also a battlefield of ambition. "Everyone wants to climb the ladder, and they don't like newcomers," he warned, though his cheerful tone made Emma feel at ease. Lucas showed her how to use the software and shared a funny story about spilling coffee on the boss's desk. Emma laughed, feeling a bit of relief for the first time. Emma began her tasks, mostly data entry and supporting projects. She soon realized her coworkers weren't welcoming whispering behind her back, calling her the delivery girl, and spreading rumors that she got in through a connection with James. Emma ignored them, focusing on her work. She stayed late at the office, studying projects, learning data analysis. "If I want to stay, I have to prove myself," she told herself, eyes burning from staring at the screen too long. After work, Emma met her best friend Sophie Nguyen at a small diner in Brooklyn. Sophie, 25, worked as a restaurant server and always radiated positive energy. "You're working at Carter Enterprises." "Oh my God, that's the Billionaire's company," Sophie exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. Emma smiled and told her about her first day, about Lucas and Claire, but didn't mention James or the necklace. Sophie held her hand. "You've got this, Emma. You're stronger than you think." She shared stories about her mother, a Vietnamese immigrant who overcame hardship in America, inspiring Emma. Their conversation made Emma feel like she had a little family, even if it was just among friends. At the same time, Claire sat in her luxurious apartment, gazing out over Manhattan. She held her phone, speaking to a mysterious person. "The delivery girl is a problem. James is getting too involved with her. If she's connected to Lily, our plan falls apart." The voice on the other end was deep. "Watch her. Don't let her dig into the past." Claire nodded, her eyes cold. She opened her laptop, searching for information on Emma, determined to eliminate her from Carter Enterprises. Emma Hayes sat in the corner of a small office at Carter Enterprises, the glow of the computer screen casting a pale light on her face, her eyes tired but resolute. 2 weeks had passed since the day she walked into the gleaming glass tower, and each day had been a silent battle. She wore a dark blue blouse, a gift from Sophie, meant to make her look more professional, yet still felt out of place among colleagues in expensive suits. In front of her was a complex real estate data sheet, the numbers dancing as if to challenge her mind. Emma took a deep breath, trying to focus, but her thoughts kept circling back to James Carter's words. "We have to find the heir to the Carter family." That sentence, which she had accidentally overheard while delivering documents late at night, haunted her ever since. Who was the heir? What did it have to do with her? She touched the silver star-shaped necklace, the only keepsake from her mother, feeling its coolness beneath her fingers. Memories of the orphanage resurfaced the nights she sat by the window, staring at the New York sky, dreaming of a family she never had. "Mom, what should I do?" she whispered, her gaze distant, as if her mother were somewhere out there among the city lights. Lucas Reed entered, holding 2 cups of coffee, his smile as bright as sunshine. "Hey, superhero, take a break," he said with a wink, placing 1 cup on her desk. Lucas, with his messy hair and sense of humor, was a rare ray of light in the tense atmosphere of Carter Enterprises. "You look like you're about to fight the computer," he teased, sitting on the edge of her desk. Emma gave a small smile, wrapping her hands around the cup, its warmth spreading through her fingers. "It's just a lot of work," she said, avoiding the real doubt swirling in her mind. Lucas shared how he once messed up a report and got scolded by Claire in front of the whole team. "She thinks she's royalty, but don't worry. You're smarter than she gives you credit for," he said confidently. Lucas showed her how to organize the data more efficiently, explaining while drawing humorous diagrams on a scrap of paper. "See, you're the knight, and the numbers are the dragon. You just have to strike in the right spot," he said, pretending to wield a sword, making Emma laugh. That moment felt like a breeze clearing away some of the pressure. Lucas stood up and patted her shoulder. "You've got this, Emma. I'm betting a whole box of donuts on you." Emma nodded, grateful, feeling like she had an older brother by her side. After work, Emma walked to Central Park with her best friend Sophie Nguyen. New York's winter had left the trees bare, but the lights from distant buildings created a magical glow. Sophie, in a bright red coat, talked about her busy shift at the restaurant. "Today a customer left a $100 tip. My mom says it's a sign of good luck," she said, her eyes sparkling. Emma smiled, but her heart felt heavy. She told Sophie about her job, James's mention of the air, and the growing sense of unease. Sophie stopped by the lake and held Emma's hand. "Sounds like a Hollywood movie. Maybe you're the lost princess," she teased, but when Emma didn't laugh, her tone turned serious. "Emma, you have that necklace, you have a past. Don't be afraid to search for the truth. My mom used to say no matter how hard it is, the truth is always worth chasing." Sophie told her about her mother, a Vietnamese immigrant who worked 16-hour days when she first came to the U.S., just to give Sophie a chance at education. Her words warmed Emma like a flame. "You're right," Emma said, gripping the necklace. "I won't give up." Meanwhile, Claire Dawson sat in a luxurious bar in Manhattan, the dim lights casting shadows across her face. Across from her was Mark, a close colleague, his expression anxious. "Emma Hayes is a threat," Claire said coldly. "James is paying too much attention to her. If she's connected to Lily, our entire plan will fall apart." Mark sipped his drink and shook his head. "She's just an intern." "You're overthinking." Claire smiled coldly. "Didn't you see the way James looked at her? I want her out of the company before she starts digging into the past." Mark nodded, though, uneasily. "I'll help, but if James finds out we're finished." Claire took a sip of wine, her gaze sharp as a blade. "He won't. She's just a delivery girl. No one will believe her." She picked up her phone and sent a message to a mysterious contact: "Follow Emma Hayes. Report her every move." She set the phone down, looking out the window, the lights of Manhattan reflected in her eyes like a warning. Emma returned to her small Brooklyn apartment, sitting by the window and gazing out at the city lights. She opened her laptop, searching for information on Carter Enterprises, hoping for a clue about the air. An old article popped up, mentioning a car accident from 15 years ago involving the Carter family. Emma read, her heart pounding. "Accident. Missing," she murmured, feeling like she stood before a secret door. She touched her necklace and whispered, "I'll find the truth no matter what it costs." But she didn't know that darkness was closing in, and Claire had already placed her in the crosshairs. The next morning, Emma walked into Carter Enterprises' sunlight, streaming through the glass windows, brightening the modern space. She wore a simple business dress bought with her savings, trying to blend in. Today, James called her into his office, assigning her a major task: analyzing a real estate project in Brooklyn, a complex worth hundreds of millions of dollars. "I see potential in you," James said, his voice deep, his gaze intense. "Don't let me down." Emma nodded, her heart pounding, feeling both the weight of pressure and the thrill of opportunity. This was her chance to prove herself, not just to James, but to herself. She sat at her desk, opened her computer, and was met with a screen full of numbers and charts. Emma had never worked on a project this big, but she was determined. She spent the entire day researching, reading financial reports, taking detailed notes. Lucas stopped by with donuts and coffee. "You look like you're about to conquer all of New York," he teased, placing the box on her desk. Emma smiled, told him about the project, and Lucas volunteered to help. "I'm not great with numbers, but I'm great at cheering people on," he said, striking a comical warrior pose. Emma laughed, feeling lighter. Lucas sat down, showed her how to use the analysis software, and told her about the time he messed up a report and got scolded by Claire. "She hates everything except her reflection," he said with a wink. That night, Emma stayed late at the office, the lights of Manhattan shimmering through the windows. She was exhausted, her eyes stinging, but she didn't stop. She remembered the days she made deliveries in the rain, telling herself to be stronger than her circumstances. "I can do this," she whispered, continuing to type. A coworker, Anna, passed by and looked at Emma with disdain. "You think staying late will make you a boss?" "Keep dreaming," Anna said before walking away. Emma clutched her necklace, ignoring the words, though they stung. She remembered Sophie's voice. "You're stronger than you think." She kept working, determined not to be defeated by ridicule. The next morning, Emma presented her analysis in the team meeting. She stood in front of the whiteboard, her voice shaky but clear, explaining the data and offering suggestions for improvement. Her colleagues were silent, some nodding in agreement. Even Claire couldn't find fault. James, seated at the end of the table, nodded. "Well done, Ms. Hayes. I want you on the core project team." The invitation stunned Emma, but filled her with pride. She felt one step closer to her American dream, even if it was a small one. After the meeting, James called Emma into his office. The Manhattan light streamed through the glass, creating a warm atmosphere. As Emma handed over the documents, James's hand brushed against her necklace. "Where did you get this necklace?" he asked, his voice trembling. Emma took a deep breath, told him about her mother, the orphanage, her voice breaking. "It's the only thing my mother left me. I know nothing about her." James listened, his gaze softening. "You remind me of someone," he said quietly. "My sister Lily disappeared 15 years ago. She had a necklace just like that." Emma was stunned, her heart racing. "You mean I could be your sister?" she asked, her voice shaking. James shook his head. "I'm not sure. But this necklace, it's special." He said no more, but his eyes held both hope and pain. Emma left the office, her mind in turmoil. Was she connected to the Carter family? Or was it just a coincidence that evening Emma met Sophie at a small diner in Brooklyn? Sophie, in her waitress uniform, hugged her tightly. "You look exhausted but radiant," she said, smiling. Emma told her about the project, James's words, and her doubts about the necklace. Sophie listened, eyes wide. "You have to find out. You might be some kind of heiress," she teased, then grew serious. "My mom says the past is your roots. Whatever it is, you need to know." Sophie shared a story about her mom reconnecting with relatives in Vietnam, inspiring Emma. "You're right. I'm going to dig deeper," Emma said, holding Sophie's hand. Meanwhile, Claire sat in her office, her eyes cold. She opened her computer, studied Emma's file, her gaze sharp as a knife. She called Mark. "She did well on the Brooklyn project. James trusts her too much. We need to act." Mark sounded uneasy. "Do it, she's just an intern." Claire gave a cold smile. "One little mistake, and she'll lose everything. Alter the data in her report. I want her fired by the end of the week." Emma returned to her apartment, opened her computer, and continued researching Carter Enterprises. She found an old article about the accident 15 years ago, mentioning a missing accountant. Her heart beat faster. "Mom," she whispered, feeling as if she were standing at the edge of a great secret. She touched her necklace, determined. "I will uncover the truth." But she didn't know Claire had already set her plan in motion, and a storm was coming. Emma walked into Carter Enterprises, her spirits high after the success of the Brooklyn project. She wore a professional dress, feeling more confident. But something felt off in the office today. Her colleagues looked at her strangely. Some whispered. Emma sat down at her desk, opened her computer, and prepared the final report for the project. Lucas stopped by, looking concerned. "Emma, something's wrong? Claire just had a meeting with the board, and they're talking about you." Emma frowned, her heart racing. In that afternoon's board meeting, Claire stood up and presented the Brooklyn report. She pointed at the figures, her tone mocking. "Ms. Hayes made a serious mistake. The data is incorrect, costing the company millions. An unqualified intern has no place here." Emma was shocked, staring at the projected figures, numbers she didn't recognize. "I didn't make a mistake," she said, her voice shaking, but Claire cut her off. "Who do you think you are, a delivery girl trying to play in the big leagues?" Emma stood frozen, her face burning, feeling like she was back at the orphanage being mocked. James looked at her, his expression unreadable, saying nothing. She left the meeting room and ran to the Brooklyn Bridge, standing before the Hudson River. The cold wind blew, but it didn't ease the pain. "I tried my best." Why, she whispered, tears streaming down. She touched her necklace, remembering Sophie's words. The truth is worth pursuing. But now the truth seemed to be against her. Lucas found Emma sitting beside her on the bridge. "You didn't make a mistake," he said firmly. "I saw Claire going through your computer last night. She played dirty. Lucas told her about a time he was set up by a colleague, but overcame it by not giving up. You're the strongest person I know, Emma. Don't let them win." He handed her a bottle of water, smiling, "Drink up night. We're going to get revenge." Emma laughed through her tears, feeling warmth. "Thank you, Lucas. I won't give up." Emma and Lucas secretly began investigating. They checked the data revision history on her computer and discovered Claire had altered the figures the night before the meeting. Emma saved the evidence on a USB drive, though fear gripped her. Going up against Claire meant challenging the entire power structure. She remembered James's gaze during the meeting and wondered if he believed her. "Does he think I'm Lily? Or just a failure?" she murmured. That night, Emma met James at a cafe near the company. He sat in the corner, looking contemplative. "I didn't do anything wrong," Emma said, her voice steady. James looked at her, his gaze softening. "I believe you, but I need proof." Emma spoke about her dream of helping orphans, about the days she delivered packages to survive. James listened, holding her hand. "You remind me that there's still hope." A spark of affection stirred between them, leaving Emma flustered but warm. He promised to investigate, but warned, "Claire has powerful connections. You must be careful." Emma returned to her apartment, opened the USB, and reviewed the evidence. She remembered Lucas's words, "We're going to get revenge." She texted Sophie, "I need you." "Tomorrow is the big battle," Sophie replied instantly. "I'm always here. You're a star." "Emma?" Emma smiled, feeling stronger. She touched her necklace and whispered, "I will prove the truth for my mother and for myself." At the same time, Claire met Mark at a bar. "Emma is investigating," she said coldly. "She has evidence. We need to act more aggressively." Mark looked worried. "What do you want?" Firing her was enough, Claire smirked. "Not enough. I want her to lose everything, her reputation, her job, and James." She sent a message to a mysterious contact, "Silence her. At all costs." Claire sipped her wine, her eyes full of ambition, unaware that Emma was already preparing to strike back. Emma sat in her small apartment, the dim light casting soft shadows on the old wooden table. In front of her lay the USB drive containing proof that Claire had altered the data, but her mind was elsewhere. She opened her laptop and continued researching Project Starlight, a name that had appeared in an old article about an accident 15 years ago. She found an archived file locked with a password. After several attempts, she typed in Starlight, and the file opened. Emma read, her heart pounding. The file detailed Project Starlight, a canceled real estate development, and a fatal accident in the suburbs of New York. One name stood out: Margaret Hayes, her mother, who once worked as an accountant for Carter Enterprises. The documents revealed that Margaret had discovered financial misconduct, millions embezzled, and the accident happened soon after. "Mom, you knew something." Emma whispered, tears running down her face. A hazy memory returned, blinding headlights, a car horn, a voice calling her name. Just then the doorbell rang. Emma jumped, wiped her tears, and opened the door. A middle-aged man stood there, silver-haired with sorrowful eyes. "Are you Emma?" he asked. "I'm Robert Hayes, your uncle." Emma was stunned, but invited him in. Robert sat down and explained, "Your mother Margaret was my sister. She worked for the Carter family and uncovered a big secret. They covered up the accident to protect their reputation." He handed her an old letter in her mother's handwriting. "Emma, if you're reading this, please forgive me. I only wanted to protect you." Emma clutched the letter, tears falling. "Protect me from what she asked." Robert sighed. The Carter family didn't want the truth to come out. Margaret was threatened, and the accident, it wasn't random. He warned, "You're walking a dangerous path. Be careful." Emma nodded, but her resolve only grew stronger. "I need to know the truth for my mother." The next morning, Emma met Sophie in Central Park. Sophie hugged her tightly, listening to the story about Robert. "You're not alone," Sophie said warmly. "No matter the past, you've got me and you've got Lucas." Sophie shared how her own mother struggled in America, working 16-hour shifts to raise her. "My mom always said, the truth is power. You'll find it, Emma." Her words lit a fire inside Emma, making her more determined. She held Sophie's hand. "Thank you. I won't stop. Emma returned to the office and secretly saved the Starlight file onto the USB. She texted Lucas. "Found a big lead. Meet me after work," Lucas replied. "Night, I'm ready." Emma smiled, feeling like she had an ally. But as she left the office, a strange man followed her, his eyes cold. Emma didn't notice, but a wave of unease made her clutch her necklace tighter. At the same time, Claire met with Mark in her apartment. "Emma has the Starlight file," she said tensely. "If she gives it to James, we're finished." Mark looked worried. "You hired someone to follow her. If this leaks, we're done." Claire smirked coldly. "No one cares about a delivery girl. I hired the best. She'll be silenced permanently." She picked up her phone and sent a message: "Act tonight. Leave no trace." Emma walked home, unaware of the danger closing in. She touched her necklace, thinking about her mother, about James and Robert's words. "I can't stop," she told herself, stepping into the darkness of Brooklyn. But the sound of footsteps behind her made her flinch. She turned around, saw no one, but the feeling of being followed made her heart race. She gripped her necklace tighter, unaware that Claire had just launched her final strike. Emma stood in James's office, the lights of Manhattan shimmering through the glass windows. She took a deep breath, her voice steady. "What is Project Starlight? How is my mother, Margaret Hayes, connected to it?" James looked at her, pain in his eyes. He stood, walked to the window, and gazed down at the city. "You found the file?" he said, his voice low. "I didn't want you involved in this, but maybe it's too late." James began to explain. 15 years ago, his father, a ruthless businessman, oversaw Project Starlight. Margaret, Emma's mother, uncovered financial misconduct, millions embezzled. She threatened to report it, and the accident happened soon after. "My father covered it up," James said, voice choked. "I only found out when I became CEO. I tried to make things right, searched for Lily, my sister, but—" He paused, glancing at Emma's necklace. "When I saw the necklace, I thought you were Lily." Emma trembled, her mother's letter flashing in her mind. She wanted to protect me from what she asked. James sighed. "Your mother and mine were best friends. They worked together, designed 2 star-shaped pendants, one for Lily, one for you. They promised to care for each other's children, but fate separated them." He turned back to her, hope in his eyes. "You could be Lily, but I need time to confirm it." Emma was stunned. She shook her head. "I don't know who I am, but I can't be Lily. I grew up in an orphanage." She told him about her hazy memories. Headlights, a car horn. James listened gently, holding her hand. "Whoever you are, I'll help you find the truth." His words left Emma shaken. A flicker of emotion stirred, but she pushed it away. "I need to know about my mother," she said firmly. Emma left the office, her mind in turmoil. She met Lucas at a cafe near the company. Lucas hugged her, listening closely. "You're not alone," he said warmly. "Whether you're Lily or Emma, you're the strongest person I know." Lucas shared how he lost hope after being framed by colleagues, but regained it through friendship. "We'll take down Claire, and we'll win," he said, winking. Emma smiled, feeling the strength of his support. Meanwhile, Claire spread a rumor that Emma was manipulating James to take over the company. The rumor spread quickly, and her colleagues grew colder toward her. In the break room, Anna sneered. "You think seducing the boss will get you to the top? Keep dreaming." Emma gripped her necklace, ignoring the comment, but the pain lingered. She texted Sophie, "Everything's getting worse." "I need you," Sophie replied. "I'm coming tonight. You're a star, don't forget it." That evening, Emma walked home, still haunted by the feeling of being followed. She stopped at the Brooklyn Bridge, staring at the Hudson River, thinking about James, about her mother. "Who am I?" she whispered. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. She turned and saw a strange man with a cold expression. Her heart raced as she ran, memories of headlights flashing in her mind. She ducked into an alley and called Lucas. "I'm being followed," she said, her voice shaking. Lucas arrived quickly, pulling her into a nearby cafe. "Are you okay?" he asked, breathless. Emma nodded, but inside panic surged. At the same time, Claire met a mysterious figure in a bar. "Emma escaped this time," she said angrily. "She knows about Starlight. We have to stop her." The other person, voice low, replied, "I'll send someone else. She won't live to tell the rest." Claire smiled, coldly, ambition burning in her eyes, unaware that Emma was preparing to strike back even harder. Emma sat in her apartment. In front of her lay the USB containing evidence that Claire had altered the data and the Starlight file. She opened her laptop and checked the email Claire had sent to Mark, revealing the sabotage plan. Emma saved everything, her heart pounding. She knew going against Claire was a huge risk, but there was no turning back. She remembered Sophie's words. Truth is power. She texted Lucas. Ready tomorrow, we fight. Lucas arrived at the apartment carrying pizza and a grin. Knight, here's your battle fuel, he said, setting the box on the table. They reviewed the evidence, emails, edit history, and a recording of Claire confessing her guilt. Lucas looked concerned. Claire's well connected. If we fail, you could lose your job. Emma took his hand. We won't fail. We have the truth. Lucas nodded, smiling. You're right. We're the superhero team. The next morning, Emma met Sophie at a diner. Sophie hugged her tightly and listened to the plan. You're stronger than Claire because you're fighting for the truth, Sophie said. She shared how her mother had faced discrimination in the U.S., but persevered. My mom always said, kindness wins. You'll win, Emma. Emma squeezed Sophie's hand, feeling stronger. Thank you. I can do this. Emma stepped into Carter Enterprises, her heart racing. Wearing a business dress and gripping the USB tightly, she was ready for confrontation. In the shareholder meeting room, Claire was presenting, throwing subtle jabs at Emma. Emma stood up, her voice firm. I have evidence that Claire manipulated data to frame me. She plugged in the USB projecting emails and an audio recording of Claire admitting her wrongdoing. The shareholders gasped and murmured. Claire shouted, She's lying, but the evidence was undeniable. James looked at Emma with pride in his eyes. He stood. Ms. Dawson, you are suspended. We will open an investigation. Claire was escorted out by security, her eyes burning with hatred as she stared at Emma. After the meeting, James took Emma's hand. You're stronger than I thought. Emma smiled, but her heart was heavy. She still needed answers about her mother, about the necklace. That night, Emma met Sophie and Lucas at a cafe. They raised their glasses in celebration. Lucas teased, You really are a superhero. Time to take over as boss. Emma laughed, but her thoughts wandered to Robert, to Starlight. She texted Robert, We need to talk. I'm ready to know the truth. Lucas and Sophie embraced her, promising to always be by her side. Emma looked out the window, the lights of Manhattan glittering, but the darkness hadn't yet lifted. At the same time, Claire sat in her apartment, her eyes full of rage. She called the mysterious man. Emma won this time, but it's not over. I want her to lose everything. The man replied, She's digging deeper into Starlight. I've arranged an accident. She won't live much longer. Claire gave a cold smile, thinking of victory, unaware that Emma was preparing her final move. Emma met Robert in Central Park, sunlight filtering through the bare trees. Robert sat on a bench, his gaze somber. I want to know the truth, Emma said, her voice firm. Robert sighed and told everything. Emma was not Lily. Lily had died in the accident along with Emma's mother, Margaret. James's father had covered it up to protect his reputation, sending Emma to an orphanage to erase all traces. Margaret wanted to protect you, Robert said. She knew too much, and she paid with her life. Emma embraced Robert, tears streaming down her face. I'm not Lily, but I am Emma, she said, her voice trembling. And I will live for my mother. Robert held her hand. You are stronger than your mother. Be careful, because Claire hasn't stopped. Emma nodded, feeling a sense of relief, but also fear. She knew Claire would seek revenge, and the incident on the Brooklyn Bridge was proof. Emma met James at the office, telling him what Robert had revealed. James was shocked, pain in his eyes. I had hoped you were Lily, he said, voice choked. But you are Emma, and you've changed me. He took her hand, his eyes warm. I'm sorry for what my father did. I will make it right. Emma forgave him, sensing emotion stir, but she focused on the future. What can we do for my mother? She asked. James proposed to rebuild the Starlight Project, an affordable housing complex in memory of Margaret and those who had been hurt. Emma agreed, her eyes lighting up. That's the American dream, giving everyone a chance, she said. James smiled. You'll lead the project. Emma was stunned, but nodded, feeling a new purpose. Meanwhile, Claire met with the mysterious man who turned out to be James's rival, determined to take down Carter Enterprises. Emma knows too much, Claire said. She has to disappear. The man nodded. It's arranged. Tonight she'll have an accident. Claire gave a cold smile, thinking of victory. That night, Emma walked home, unaware of the danger. A black car followed, headlights glaring. Emma heard a noise and turned, her heart racing. She recalled a blurry memory. Bright lights, the sound of a car horn. She ran, but the car gave chase. Lucas, passing by, pulled her into an alley. "Are you okay?" he asked, breathless. Emma, trembling, nodded. "Someone once,"